Holy Mysteries. Golden Ratio. The biggest divine secrets of the century, with substantiating scientific evidence in Mecca. New discoveries that will shake the world at the Kaaba, with presentations from noted scientists presenting all the proof. The golden ratio in the Quran, Mecca, Kaaba, in Muhammad's life, and in all of the universe. 109 coded messages of sun and hell that baffles the mind. Superhuman symmetrical design is evident in the Quran. The Holy Spirit and the gold silhouette that is etched on the earth. The sign of God in Hajj, striking mysteries about the apocalypse, creation, and the universe. Golden Age, very close. Sun is rising. Come closer. Watch. The secrets are being revealed. 109 secrets. Symmetry in the Quran. Repeat of similar words. Secrets of the heavens. God's symbol in Hajj. Before the world changes, holy mysteries are beginning. Humankind is being deceived, and especially by itself. Everyone believes in something. If you really think about it, actually it is very difficult for mankind to know something for sure, even with definite knowledge. Are we watching a very long dream? Is it a hallucination or a hologram? Who knows, perhaps? Are we experimental life forms? That is the result of a higher technology? One thing that we know for sure is that somehow we have our consciousness, and we don't have the power to do this by ourselves. Hence, the only thing that we really do know is that we have become existent due to someone or something. Do we have anyone amongst us that can create oneself? The only thing that we can do is choose the most correct and most suitable possibility within all the various possibilities, and to believe from our hearts our chance at life and to utilize it in the best way possible. But if we actually don't believe in the things that we think we believe in, what if we have never really believed? A student will study tens of books in order to pass the exam, and he will try to learn the things that he doesn't understand from the experts, if we have not deceived ourselves like the whole of humanity. Hence, if we do believe, it's not possible to believe in knowledge that we have not fully studied, in the life exam, which can lead to unlimited awards, or in very big punishments. Have we read the book that is supposed to guide us from its beginning to the end? Or have we just been satisfied with a few words that we have heard from others? And have we decided on the easy way of believing in the people who tell us the book is real, instead of believing in the book itself? Billions of people are working continuously under tough conditions in order to have a more comfortable life. But how hard do we have to work in order to win the love of our Creator, and in order to win a place in the infinite heaven? Almost not at all, isn't it? Our secret and real beliefs that have evolved in our subconscious is actually giving itself away. In reality, how much do we really believe? How would we know whether we actually believe or not? The Creator gives the answer. Do we have all the virtues that people who believe must have? Are we spending our income prosperously in the name of God, doing our praise properly, and are we shaking deep within our hearts with the love of God when we hear His name? Or do we actually deceive ourselves like the rest of the humanity that we believe in the Holy Book? The Quran describes to humanity that there is a different dimension that exists with infinite and happy existence, and it describes a way to achieve it. All of the signs and evidence in this path are vital in value on the road to infinity. Any sign and mark that allows us to overcome death and poverty, unhappiness and distress will be invaluable to us. Even the smallest bit of information that proves the reality of infinity and the heaven is the most valuable information in the universe. The golden ratio, 1.618. The golden ratio of 1.618. It is the most mysterious number in mathematics. Leonardo da Vinci, along with the famous mathematician Luca Pacioli, has dubbed this number as the Holy Ratio, and they have done some research concerning this mysterious number. In fact, da Vinci was obsessed with this number, as he invented the first compass that could measure the golden ratio, and in almost all of his paintings he used this mysterious ratio to catch perfection and balance. The famous astronomer Kepler, who has found the elliptical orbits of planets, had used the term big treasure for the golden ratio. He tried to explain the structure of the solar system using the golden ratio. Within this system, all living beings and inanimate objects, which have distinction and beauty, were created with certain flexibility for obtaining variety, with the golden ratio serving as the principal design criteria. There is a design at work which has been formed according to the golden ratio in the faces and the bodies of the most beautiful living beings, within the semi-transparent layers of life, within the regions called phyllotaxy, in the leaves of the plants, and within the countless places in the universe. Professor Paul Davies from Adelaide University discovered in 1989 that the thermodynamics of rotating black holes are related to the golden ratio. The presence of the golden ratio in arts and science can be seen in the thousands of books written by academics and in thousands of scientific articles which have been published in reputable scientific journals. The LCD televisions, credit cards, and many architectural and industrial objects that have been designed with the 16:9 ratio actually have been designed according to the golden ratio due to the fact that it appears aesthetic to the human eye. Mathematician Fibonacci, who has taught modern numerals to Europe and who has received training from Muslim scientists, also has become famous for discovering a mysterious number sequence that starts at 1 and gives birth to the golden ratio. This numerical sequence has signs from the unity of the creation or birth from the number 1. Number 1, or Wahid, as it is known in Arabic, is also one of the most important names of the Creator in the Quran. There is a relationship between the golden ratio and the number 1. The operation, which contains nested fractional sum reflections along with the number 1, gives the golden ratio. It appears to reflect the creation that starts with number 1 and it continues with 1. As seen in the figure, taking the square roots of number 1 until infinity was giving the golden ratio. In order to get the square of the golden ratio number, we have to add 1 to the number. In order to get the square of the golden ratio number, we have to add 1 to the number. No other ratio or number is known in mathematics which has a similar property like the golden ratio. When they were first created, the moon and the earth were very near to each other. Their dimensions were created according to the golden ratio triangles. This magnificent numerical seal of the Creator shows itself clearly, even in the design of the earth and the moon. Let's assume that the Earth's radius is 1 unit. When Earth and Moon are joined together, the distance between their centers is the square root of the golden ratio number. The opposite side of the perpendicular triangle that is formed also gives the golden ratio number. Moon's polar radius 1,736 kilometers, Earth's polar radius 6,356.8 kilometers. Rahman Surah, verse 5. The sun and the moon follow horses, exactly computed. After 25 years of research, the world-famous plastic surgeon Stephen Markout was able to demonstrate with a great experiment that human bodies and faces designed according to the golden ratio is found to be beautiful and in balance without any exceptions by anyone. If a person's face, which looks proportional, strays away from the principal ratio 1.618, then the aesthetics of the face will become deformed and disproportionate. The measurements, which are etched into our nature, the code to beauty and to aesthetics, as well as the great power to seed love and passion to the heart of humanity, lies in this mysterious number. In the roots for the search for proportionality, there is a code in our DNA which keeps the secret of beauty and love. When we look at a person's face, sometimes the reason for finding the mouth a bit wide or finding the face a bit long lies in this number, created by 1, which is 1.618. the golden ratio point of the Earth. So, then, where is the golden ratio point in our world? Is it Rome, which is the center of Christianity? Is it Paris, which is the capital of fashion? Is it Egypt, which is the mainland of magic? Is it New York, the most crowded city? Or is it one of the thousands of cities? No. In the Quran, Mecca is introduced as the mother of all cities, and it is considered the holiest and most divine center. Interestingly, when we take the ratio of its distance to the northern pole and its distance to the south pole, it gives the exact ratio of 1.618, which is the golden ratio. Furthermore, the ratio of the distance of the city of Mecca to the south pole and the total distance between the two poles is again 1.618. The miracle doesn't end here. According to maps with the latitudes and longitudes, which have become the common location determination language for all of mankind, the world's golden ratio is in the city of Mecca. The ratio of the distance is again 1.618 from Mecca to the east and to the west at solstice, where the days change. Furthermore, Mecca's distance toward the west of the solstice and its ratio to the diameter of that latitude again gives us the golden ratio, or 1.618. Various facts, such as the fact that the world has different diameters at every longitude, the tectonic planes, oceans changing diameter with tides and the like, and despite the small differences in measurement systems, the golden ratio point never leaves the boundaries of Mecca and the Kaaba, as it is always within the circle of the holy region. Even though there are thousands of cities out there in the world, why does the golden ratio point within the boundaries of Mecca? In religious terminology, it is quite meaningful that Mecca is positioned at the highest point, which is considered as the most elegant and at the right direction, which is also in concordance with human nature. As Barkish has also stated, God has said to Adam that Kaaba has been placed in the highest point in his essence. The Creator, who has created the human essence from his soul, and his greatest works have been designed according to this ratio. Research by author and producer Erdem Çetinkaya. There is such a magnificent balance and such perfection out there in the universe that this tells us that there are no coincidences and that there is in fact an intention and a will. The famous scientist Einstein tells us there are no coincidences in the universe, with his saying, God doesn't roll dice. Again, another famous scientist, Galileo, says, the magnificent book of nature, or the book of the universe, can only be read by those who know the language in which it was written. This language is mathematics. The golden ratio of 1.618, which is accepted by a majority of the scientists, shows itself in the human face. It also shows itself in sunflowers, pine cones, seashells, as well as in various living beings. Since it can be seen that there is a special order in the dimensions from the smallest living creature to the biggest, then naturally it seems plausible that a point's coordinates, where billions of people direct themselves toward that direction, will also have a certain meaning and also can reflect a certain ratio. Hence, in this context, it's been conceived that Kaaba's location has a relationship with the golden ratio, and as a result, it's been seen that the dimensions actually reflect the golden ratio. Hence, it can be said that the ratio of the human face is also seen in the face of our world as well. It is evident that the presence of the golden point in Mecca allows us to see a greater truth, not just according to the polar points, but also according to the maps drawn by political influences in 1844, and also by GPS, which has recently become the common location determination language. Even the lines and the borders drawn by mankind cannot go against destiny and against divine borders. In the Quran, Surah of Al-Imran, in the 96th verse, where the word Mecca is seen, the relation between the golden ratio and the city of Mecca is clearly told by the creator of the universe. In this verse, the total count of the letters is 47. When we take the golden ratio of the numbers of letters, then we see that it shows the word Mecca 47 over 1.618 equals 29. From the beginning of the verse until the word Mecca, there are a total 29 letters, just like the world map. If there was one extra letter or one missing letter, this ratio would have never materialized. Without forcing it, we did the same procedure that we did on Earth, and we all witnessed the wonderful harmony of the number of letters that showed Mecca and the golden ratio. All of these signs show us that God, which is the magnificent power that is impossible to describe, and who has created the world and mathematics, is the owner of the Quran, and He is the holy being who has positioned the holy city and Kaaba. He reminds us, with these miracles, of the fact that He is giving us signs by knowing the future and by knowing the common languages of the humanity beforehand. The circumambulation, or tawaf, of the golden ratio point in Mecca. The polar point will move by drawing small circles, like a gyroscope. And this also causes the golden ratio point to draw circles. This is called the Chandler movement. But the spiral movement from left to right, which looks like circumambulation, tawaf, still happens within the boundaries of Mecca, and it continues its travel in circular revolutions in the holy city. Since the beginning of humanity, and since religion was brought down to earth, and even after the movement of the continents, Mecca has always had the golden ratio point. Since the continental shifts take place only for a few meters, even in thousands of years, as a result, the golden ratio point will remain in Mecca within the boundaries of the holy region until the doomsday, which some say is not so far away. This is because the holy region, where unbelievers and those without pilgrimage cloaks are forbidden to be inside by the Quran, actually starts at the boundaries of Medina and draws a large circle that encompasses Kaaba. Golden ratio in Kaaba and the Mecca. It is quite evident that the Earth's golden ratio point is the city of Mecca. But then, where is the city of Mecca's golden ratio point? The world has a 23 degree of inclination in its orbit. When we look towards the earth from space, and when we take the golden ratio point of Mecca, then the golden ratio of the distance of its northernmost boundary and its southernmost boundary puts it right on top of Kaaba. It is very easy to calculate the dimensions of Mecca using a GPS through Google Earth, which is available for free on the internet. This situation shows us a strong proof for the second time that even political events and decisions have been made through a divine guidance. Because when we look out from space, the possibility of Mecca's golden ratio point to fall on the center of the roof of Kaaba is 1 in a million chances, since Kaaba is just as big as a house. Is everything a meaningless coincidence? Or are we living beings that breathe inside a magnificent and controlled system? In our day, Kaaba looks like a cube. Why has this holy structure been constructed as a cube, which doesn't obey the golden ratio, even though it has relations to many golden ratios? The answer is hidden in the mysterious pages of history. Abraham and his son Ismail had found the foundations of Kaaba, which had existed since the beginning of mankind, and they constructed Kaaba with the word of God. But these foundations had different dimensions as compared to today. The semicircle region called the Hatim was actually inside the Kaaba. But due to the fact that the material available wasn't sufficient during the time of 5 years before Muhammad became a prophet, the division called Hatim was left outside, and the Kaaba was constructed as a cube. Just as it is supposed to be if the Kaaba's foundations are placed in the rectangle with the Hatim region inside, then there'll be 13.1 meters of width and 21.2 meters of length, and the ratio of these two dimensions is 1.618. Namely, this means that the foundation of Kaaba, which perhaps goes all the way to the angels, was built according to the golden ratio. Furthermore, 13 and 21 are two consecutive numbers in the Fibonacci sequence. The hadiths that Azarki also believed in confirms this fact, as the structures was made by Abraham and his son Ismail were laid with stones placed on top of each other, and its longest wall was 32 zira units, and its shortest wall had a length of 20 zira units. When this belief is taken as a fundamental truth, then the ratio of 32 zira to 22 zira also gives us the golden ratio. Then why did the Creator allow a portion of Kaaba to collapse? And why the history was directed to allow for a free entrance and an exit? Arabs used to allow only nobles and wealthy men to enter the Kaaba, and poor people were forbidden from worshipping within the Kaaba. However, in our day, in the place called the Hatim, all people who want to pray can do so comfortably, and they can have the honor of performing the ritual prayers inside the Kaaba. The latitude of the coordinates of Kaaba is 21 degrees and 25 minutes. The first verse that describes Kaaba is the verse 225. Could this mathematic harmony be a simple coincidence? The possibility of numbers depicted in the Quran with order number 114 rising until verse 286, which describe the Kaaba for the first time, has a chance of 1 in 100,000 for them to appear next to each other. Surah 2, verse 125. The part with the coordinates after the comma can be described in the form of minutes, as well as in ratios of percentages. In order to handle the upcoming objections, when we look at the coordinates of Kaaba by changing them from 21 degrees 42 minutes to percentage ratios, we come across the following verse. Surah 2, verse 142. Hence, no matter how we look at it, there is a sign in the verses that point to Kaaba, and this could only be possible with the wisdom of God. .618 is a number that encompasses the best designs and best aesthetics, along with the symbol of love and countless offerings. One of the most important properties of this number is that it continues forever in an unpredicted manner, and that it is impossible to count all of the digits inside this number. It is very meaningful for those who are looking for a sign to the divine truth that in the verse of the golden ratio with the number 1618, it states that this number is related to God's distinguished and beautiful offerings, so that it is not possible to count it. So, if we proceed, and if we also take the number 033 into account, and if we progress in Quran's coordinate system until we reach the letters, then what kind of results are we going to see? The 33rd letter of the 16th surah's 18th verse falls right in the middle of the word Allah. Hence, Quran's golden ratio point is the word Allah. Quran has described itself in one way as a book with repetitions, and in the verse it is stated that the beauty of the book lies in this repetitive nature. Allah brought down the most beautiful word as a repetitive book, Anbiya 47. The wholly distinguished seal in the repetition of the mathematical values in Quran's surah and verse numbers also points us toward another magnificent structure, which depicts the golden ratio. When the numerical values of the verses are divided into two parts as repetitive and non-repetitive, then it can be seen that the ratio between them gives 1.618. In the Quran, each surah has two mathematical values, with one as the order number and the other as the verse number. Al-Baqarah surah, order number 2, verse number 286. 286 plus 2 equals 288, the mathematical value of the Al-Baqarah surah. And this result can be expressed as the total numerical value. You see the numerical values of all the surahs, chapters in the Quran. Some of these numbers are repeated, while some of them are not. For example, the numerical values of the Human Surah and the Al-Buruj Surah are 107. Due to this, they are in a group of surahs, or chapters, where numerical values are repeated. The Surah of Al-Fatiha has a numerical value of 8, and since no other surah has this value, it is in the group where the numerical values are not repeated. The sum of the surah values which are repeated, such as the Human Surah and Al-Buruj, is 7,906. The sum of the numerical values of the surahs where the numerical value is unique and doesn't repeat itself, is 4,885. Golden ratio 7,906 over 4,885 equals 1.618. Thus, the ratio of the repeated surah values to the non-repeated ones would exactly give the golden ratio. Holy mysteries are continuing. When we look at the Earth from space, it can be seen with 23 degrees of inclination. If a perpendicular line to Earth's orbit is drawn from the city of Mecca, and if it's raised to the north, then surprisingly it can be seen that Mecca, Jerusalem and Istanbul would be on the same straight line. Approximately the distance from Mecca to Jerusalem and from Jerusalem to Istanbul is equivalent to each other with 1,200 kilometers. But why does this mysterious line called the Golden Route, which is perpendicular to the Earth's orbit, points toward Istanbul? Without a doubt, Istanbul has first been the administrative center of Christianity, and then after its conquest by Muslims, it has become Islam's capital and Islam's administrative center. This city, which has been praised in hadiths, has also been home to the holy trusts, Emaneti Mukaddes, which are the signs of the caliphate. But Istanbul's real mystery is in its relationship with the Golden Age. When we connect the areas which are in the Golden Route, then we see a human silhouette that is praying, which seems to reflect the region's mysterious soul. This shape appears as a female on her knees, with hands on her chest and in a bowing position while praying, and wearing thin and pointed shoes along with an abundant dress. This silhouette has many mysteries that make it more than just an imaginary thing. The Golden Route cities, which are present in the body of the silhouette, have played important roles in history. When we look at our history, it is very meaningful that Mecca is the holy creation and birth center, as the mother of all cities, and Jerusalem is in the heart center of revelations and divine inspiration, while Istanbul and Anatolia are in the brain and administrative center. Another mystery is in the manner and the movements of the silhouette. This movement, which is caused by the dragging of the continents and the fault lines, makes the silhouette look like a person who is doing prostration and who is continuously lowering her head. In addition, when we take Earth's inclination of 23 degrees into account, as well as the way Earth looks from space, then it is seen that the distance between Mecca and the equator and the distance between Istanbul and Mecca are equal to each other. For thousands of years, Muslims perform the Sa'i prayer after revolving around the Kaaba. This prayer is executed by going back and forth between the two hills, which are located approximately 100 meters east of Kaaba. Salah is the expression of nothingness and love with its rituality. On the other hand, Hajj, pilgrimage, is a cosmic act of worship executed by all the beings. Molecules, stars, and planets revolve around a single center while bowing to that center. Then, what does the command of walking back and forth symbolize for the pilgrims? The only thing that is known about this subject so far is that Hajar, the wife of Abraham, prayed between these two hills in search of water for her son Ismail. But in the world, there are many people who do greater sacrifices for their child. This event was not the reason for the Sa'i prayer, but it was just to show the way it is done. Then, what was the mystery that made Muslims walk for thousands of years between these two hills? Again, the answer was to resurface in the Quran after thousands of years. Behold, Safa and Marwa are among the symbols of Allah. Al-Baqarah, verse 158. This word that is read as shi'ar will mean a sign, an emblem, a mark, or sometimes even as a judgment, and it has many secrets within it. The pilgrim's walk, which starts at the rock of Hajar al-Aswad and then continues with circumambulation, tawaf, around the Kaaba 7 times, and then they go to the hill of Safa, and then through the shortest route to go to the hill of Marwa 4 times, and to return back 3 times, will create the symbol of Allah. The Allah symbol has been hidden in a path that has been walked by people who walk in the name of Allah. Hence, when we look at the region from the sky, it can be seen that the Safa and Marwa have become the emblem of Allah. Without doing circumambulation, tawaf, even the footprints of a person who is doing the Sa'i prayer will give the straight form of the letter He, which symbolizes the word Allah. In the 4th verse of At-Tin, it is stated that the measurement, mold, used in mankind has the best ratios. Without a doubt, the 2 primary dimensions used in mankind are symmetry and the golden ratio. Likewise, you will see that without being forced, it is impossible for the relationship between this verse and the surah to be a coincidence. The At-Tin surah is made up of 8 verses. The verse that describes the measurements of mankind's creation is in the 4th verse. Hence, this verse has symmetrically divided the surah in half. The total number of letters is 171, and from the best measurements verse until the end of the chapter, there are 105 letters. Blue section. 171 over 1.618 equals 105. The number of words until the best measurement, verse 13. The number of words from this verse until the end of the surah, 21. These numbers are the consecutive 2 prime numbers in the Fibonacci sequence, which forms the root of the golden ratio. In the At-Tin surah, there are many more signs for the golden ratio. That he may know that they have truly brought and delivered the message of their Lord, and he encompasses all that is with them, and takes account of every single thing. Surah 72, verse 28. Revival Project. The great majority of non-Muslims have some mistaken prejudices against Islam. Due to planned provocations, these prejudices, which have no relationship with reality, have become the common viewpoint of non-Muslims. Likewise, just as we only know hearsay about very light religions, that have a large number of believers of over 1 billion, like Taoism and Buddhism, people in other religions are also prejudiced and insensitive against Islam. Then what is the most effective and convincing way to describe the truth and the reality to them in a most efficient and quick manner? Even the world's richest or the most powerful person doesn't have the capability to bring a couple of billion people together and explain a message that is 2 hours long. There is only one extraordinary instrument that can make this happen in our day. What is this instrument which plays a key role like Musa's cane and which can make the most difficult become easy? Movies. No book, no message with a long content, or no speech for an hour or 2 have been able to generate interest for a couple of billion people. But movies like Avatar, Lord of the Rings, Matrix, Braveheart, and Titanic have been watched carefully, maybe more than once, by billions of people from all over the world with various religious backgrounds. These movies and similar films have allowed the producers to recover their expenses and give them an opportunity to create other pretentious movie projects. If Muslims can succeed in filming a couple of movies with convincing evidence, then it may be possible to tell the whole of humanity about God and express righteousness, with the end result of having tens of millions of people to convert to Islam in a short period of time. Creator has given us means like the internet, television, computers, and movies, which mankind never had in their 3 million years of history, and they have turned the world into a small village where cultural sharing is instantly possible. Why? Quran's greatest miracles and scientific proofs have surfaced in the same era. Of course, there's a great plan of God at work here. In our hands, there are very dependable proofs which that can prove the extraordinary and the holy nature of Quran. These are within our hands after their acceptance and testing of various scientists. Furthermore, there are still very concrete proofs hidden in the Bible and in the Torah which can prove Prophet Muhammad's righteousness. There is enough evidence for an objective person with a conscience to believe in Islam. Then there is nothing else left to do but to share this treasure of knowledge with the world. With some effort, it will be possible to create a gripping and convincing movie or a gripping documentary which can be watched by the whole world. For example, if each person who watches the movie succeeds in making 2 more people also watch it, then according to the formulas, everyone in the world would have watched the movie in 21 weeks or in 6 months. If some of the people in the chain are not able to have someone else watch the movie, then in order to get rid of this deficiency, millions of free CDs can be left in the centers of the most crowded cities in the world, and they can also be left in mailboxes. With chain mails, it can be recommended and shared by billions of people. In regions where there is no internet or TV, it can be viewed through mobile Cinevision equipment. Thus, in a short period of time, there are many regular methods for communicating Islam to a great range of people. In reality, movies are the most convincing, most gripping, and also the most effective way of explaining thoughts and ideas. Communication on a one-on-one basis will have informational flaws, as well as tens of problems related to budget, effort, and having the ability to communicate with many people. So it can be said that one-to-one communication is not a rational method to deal with this subject. However, with a good team and with a scenario which has been created and checked by tens of experts and researchers, it can be possible to create movies of low cost, which can affect millions of people. A person who feeds a poor person can only feed that person for one day. A person who opens a blind person's eye would only help him see for a short period of time. But if a person who helps another believe and have faith, then that deed will help that person to reach infinite happiness in heaven, and it'll help in deliverance from hell. Thus, as our prophet says, to help someone with their faith is a better deed and a better charity than all of the possessions and good deeds in the world. If people had actually believed in life beyond death, then people would have given more importance to the proofs of faith. If instead of spending their large budgets for war and for defense, and if governments had used even 1% of their budget for the expansion and the endearment of Islam, then today we would have had a lot of friends instead of enemies. But besides the non-Muslim countries, even in the Muslim countries, Islam has not been understood and it has not been lived properly. Isn't there anyone who believes in God through their heart and who says, "I'm proud of my religion, I am behind it, and I am supporting it"? Let's give hands to each other for the biggest communication project and for sharing Islam's peaceful soul, which is filled with love and which lights up the mind. In order to support this project, please fill the application form in our site. For the movies to be filmed, you can be a performer. You can work in the production team. You can give materials, costumes, provide locations or vehicles. Publicity in media and in your environment, become a sponsor, give financial support. There is something that all of us can contribute in this magnificent project. When the ground shakes with a powerful quake, and when the ground throws its weights, and when mankind says, "What is happening?" then they will receive the news. And verily judgment and justice will surely come to pass by the boiling sea with its numerous paths, as Zariyat, verse 6-7. When the seas are boiling, Al-Taqrir, verse 6. Thus, just recently, scientific data has been discovered that shows that the magma layer, which is seen as the weight of the world, is much denser, heavier, and hotter as compared to the crust of the Earth, and thus it can burst through faults in unison and have the potential to evaporate all the seas. And the mountains will be as a heap of sand poured out and flowing down. Al-Musawi, verse 14. And when the earth is flattened out and casts forth what is within it and becomes clean, empty. Al-Inshikah, verse 3-4. After the earth's crust throws its weights with pressure, and after it's covered with magma and lava, the life as we know it will come to an end, and the lava will freeze and create a straight, rocky region. There would be no way for our prophet to know that the surface of the earth would become a plain after such a big lava explosion. The day that we roll up the heavens like a scroll rolled up for books, even as we produce the first creation, so shall we produce a new one, a promise we have undertaken. Truly shall we fulfill it. Anbiya Surah, verse 104. These verses tell us that such a big disaster or doomsday will change the structure of the skies or even turn it back into its original self. Well, then how was the original state of the sky depicted in the Quran? Then he turned to the sky, and it had been as smoke. He said to it and to the earth, "Come you together, willingly or unwillingly." They said, "We do come together in willing obedience." Fussilat Surah, verse 11. If the formation called Hadean, the whole atmosphere was filled with smoke due to excessive volcanic explosions and due to the release of gases, and this high-pressure atmosphere with poisonous, hot gases changed over time and turned into the clear and clean atmosphere of today. Verses miraculously tell us that due to the earthquakes and due to magma exploding into our world, the atmosphere will be filled with poisonous gases and smoke, just as it was at the time of its creation. When the sun with a spacious light is folded up at Takwir, verse 1. When the planets spill over. In the verses of Surah of at Takwir, where the doomsday, day of judgment, and afterlife are explained, an interesting knowledge concerning astronomy is given. It states that the sun will fold upon itself, and hence it'll get smaller and it'll compress itself. In reality, sometime in the future, sun will undergo a red giant face, and it'll enlarge big enough to swallow Earth, and it will quickly compress upon itself and turn into a white dwarf. After this event, the planets will fall out of their orbits and meet great disasters. When the stars become dim, Al-Mursalah, verse 8. Modern science has established the fact that in the future, all stars will definitely cool down and dim, or that they will be swallowed up by a black hole and be crushed and extinguished. Then he turned to the sky, and it had been as smoke. Al-Fussilat, verse 11. The Creator explains the secrets of celestial bodies with wisdom, with the fact that this collapse will happen to our sun, as well as to the other stars, and that the sun is just an ordinary star. Who could have known that someday the stars and the sun would collapse, and that the planets would be thrown out of their orbits? And thy Lord cometh, and his angels, rank upon rank, and hell that day is brought. Al-Fajr, verses 22-23. Soil is like a mother's womb, which can live to every seed. In addition, DNA contains the mystery of creation, just like a seed that falls into the ground. After a very long era, through the Creator's sovereignty, a community with high knowledge and power will come to earth under divine commandment in order to create justice and resurrection. In the old scrolls and in stone tablets, they are called those who come from skies, or God's powerful armies, and in the holy books they are called the angels. The ability of mountains to prevent earthquakes, as well as their stake-like roots which go all the way to the earth's deeper end, and their ability to move as if they are walking, have been described in detail in the Quran. And we have set on the earth mountains standing firm, lest it should shake with them. Al-Anbiya, verse 31. On the other hand, it is really a miracle mentioned 1,400 years ago in the Quran that the sky has a protective property like a castle, and that the skies are made of layers. And we have set on the earth mountains standing firm, lest it should shake with them, and we have made therein broad highways between mountains for them to pass through, that they may find their way. Al-Anbiya, verse 31. Scientists are surprised again to see in the Quran the perfect and meaningful explanations about the doomsday and many other scientific realities, which can be very hard to predict. Many scientific realities which could only be detected with modern devices and modern equipment have already been communicated to our Prophet through revelations. As a geologist, I was a witness to these miraculous explanations with awe. Anyone who has a mind and knowledge has to see these miracles and bow before God to see that our God has infinite wisdom and to scream the holiness of our divine book. See you not how Allah has created the 7 heavens, one above another. Noah, verse 15. And the moon in her fullness. Ye shall surely travel from stage to stage. What then is the matter with them, that they believe not? Surah Al-Inshiqaq, verses 18, 19, 20. There are many verses which talk about scientific facts that we are aware of, such as that the earth's crust and the skies are made from layers, that each layer has a different function, and also that the sky has a protective nature. But in this verse, it also states that the humankind will pass through these layers of the sky and that mankind will travel to the moon. Even though these truths, which are impossible to predict, are given, it is asked in the end of the verse, why mankind still won't have faith. However, according to the scientific evidence, our moon, which is approximately the same age as our world, possessed a very hot structure that gave off light, and it brightened the world. This recent scientific finding was told in the Quran. We have made the night and the day as two of our signs. The sign of the night have we made dark, while the sign of the day we have made bright, that ye may see bounty from your Lord, and that ye may know the number and count of the years. All things have we explained in detail. Al-Isra, verse 12. Ayat is used as a word in Arabic, which means road sign, but it also means proof. It is understood that the sign of the night is erased, so that it could be understood that some time ago nights were also bright, and they became dark in time. With the recent scientific data, it is known that hundreds of millions of years ago the moon was very close to Earth, and that its image encompassed the whole sky. Moreover, due to Moon's ancient, hot, and melted structure, nights were very bright, with the Moon appearing with the brightness of the Sun. However, before mankind came to Earth, the Moon was taken away and it was dimmed. It was impossible for them to know that in the past, the nights were mostly bright and that the night eventually became dark. During the time that I worked in NASA Goddard Base Code 660, a verse in the Quran interested me in doing research on the past of the Earth and the Moon. In the verse, it was told that the nights were once bright and that they became darker later on. Using the latest data on various models on the formation of the Moon, I did some calculations and I really saw that in the past, the nights were very different. Think about it. The surface of the Moon was filled with magma seas, and it was only 1/10 of the distance away as compared to its current location. Hence, when it's looked upon from the Earth, it appeared as a bright red ball that is 10 times bigger than it's now. It was lighting the Earth at comparable brightness levels to the Sun, and it was also heating it. When we looked in the sky, it was as if there were two suns that acted independent of each other. There was no simple day and night system. The skies were rarely dark, and it was uncertain as to when was day, when was night, when was summer, and when was winter. Isn't this interesting? More interesting is the fact that this is explained clearly in the Quran. Forget about 1,400 years. Not even 50 years ago, we did not know these things, and we couldn't even begin to guess them. We have built the firmament with might, and we indeed have vast power. Az-Zariyat. Scientists discovered that the universe has expanded by exploding from one singular point and that it had expanded onwards like a balloon. This was proven in 1929 through observation. When the American astronomer Edwin Hubble was observing the skies through his large telescope, he discovered that the stars and the galaxies were receding away from each other. A universe where everything was receding away from each other means a universe that continuously expands. The fact that the universe was expanding was finalized with certainty in the upcoming years with other observations. Holy mysteries are continuing. That he may know that they have truly brought and delivered the messages of their Lord, and he encompasses all that is with them and takes account of every single thing. Surah 72, verse 28. There is a register fully inscribed to which bear witness those nearest to Allah. Surah 83, verse 20-21. It is a difficult task to have a book that is over 100,000 words, where the words describing the fundamentals of a religion have to be equivalent to each other, and where they have to be repeated regularly with numbers relevant to their meaning. Prophet Muhammad, as per the expression in the Quran, was Ummi, which means that he didn't know how to read or write. 1,400 years ago, there were no advanced computers which could organize hundreds of thousands of words and create equal number of words on the fundamental concepts. If you think about the fact that the revelations came during the last days of his life and that he didn't know when the Quran would be completed, then it can be seen that the Quran has been designed by a divine force. The words devil and angel, which represent the two opposite sides of good and bad in the spiritual realm, are repeated 88 times. The afterlife is the reflection of earth. These two fundamental words of religion in the Quran are repeated 115 times each. The word hot is repeated 4 times in the Quran. The word cold is repeated 4 times in the Quran. It is interesting to note that the word good people has been repeated twice as more as compared to bad people, in order to symbolize that the mercifulness of Allah is more than His wrath. The word bad people is repeated 3 times in the Quran. In the Quran, it is stated that there are 7 gates of hell. In the hadiths, it is stated that there are 8 gates of heaven. The single-digit difference will also show its wisdom in numbers of words. In the Quran, the word heaven is repeated 78 times, while the word hell is repeated 77 times. In the Quran, the word Rasul is repeated 513 times. Rasul is the person who has been empowered by God to tell the holy laws to the people. The number of times the names of Rasul appear in the Quran is 513 times. Allah has endorsed this holy task by making sure that the word Rasul and its private names are held equivalent to 513 times. The word alcohol is repeated 6 times in the Quran. The word zakat, alms, and the word plentiful is repeated 32 times in the Quran. The word Adam, is repeated 25 times in the Quran. An interesting detail is hidden in the verse concerning Jesus and Adam. Surah Al-Imran, verse 59. The similitude of Jesus before Allah is as that of Adam. He created him from dust, then said to him, "Be," and he was. In the verse, it is stated that both Adam and Jesus have been created in the same manner. In a divine way, the names of both prophets are repeated the same number of times, which is 25. The words month, day, and the moon are repeated in a manner that has a magnificent meaning. The word Yevm is repeated 445 times in the Quran. Without adding any attachments, the singular day words have a sum of 365. When we add up the word Yevm, along with its derivations, we will find the number 354. Hence, it is the number of days according to the Muslim calendar. The number of months in God's grace is 12, Al-Tawbah, verse 36. The word Ashuru in this verse, which means months, is repeated 12 times. The word days are repeated 30 times in the Quran. The word Qamar, which means the Earth's satellite, moon, is repeated 27 times in the Quran. One lunar day, or the revolution of the moon around itself, is equal to 27 Earth days. In order to analyze the counting of the words, you can get help from 3 sources: the Arabic Quran word file in diyanet.gov.tr, the Quran words analysis program, Hasenat, www.qurananalyse.com. In the Quran, there are 6,236 verses and tens of thousands of words. In a book that is so long in literary, it is impossible to explain by coincidence the number of repetitions that is equal to each other in such a wise manner. when we try similar procedures in other books, it is not even possible to get near the result that has been achieved in the Quran. The extraordinary way in which the Quran has infinite number of examples concerning the order of the letters and the order of the words clearly shows us that this is a holy book. You can become witness to this miracle by using a program called Hasenat for determining the number of words in the Arabic Quran, or with the Quran index called the Mujamul Mufahres, by using the help of a person who knows and speaks Arabic. There is 10:9 on it. Surah Al-Muddathir. Soon will I cast him who calls the verses the word of man into hellfire. And what will explain to thee what hellfire is? Naught doth it permit to endure, and naught doth it leave alone, darkening and changing the color of man. Over it are 19. In the past, many people thought that the expression over it are 19 was meant for the Quran. However, in reality, the expression 19, which is told in the verses, actually means the hellfire, and it is a wrath of fire that will burn the skin of unbelievers. And we have set none but angels as guardians of the fire, and we have fixed their number only as a trial for unbelievers, in order that the people of the book may arrive at certainty, and the believers may increase in faith, and that no doubts may be left for the people of the book and believers, and that those in whose hearts is a disease and the unbelievers may say, "What doth Allah intend by this?" Thus doth Allah lead astray whom He pleaseth, and guide whom He pleaseth. And none can know the forces of thy Lord except He, and this is no other than a reminder to mankind. Al-Muddathir, verse 31. The hellfire and its protectors are a test for unbelievers. For Christians and Jews who are of book origin, it is instructive and convincing as well. And for believers, it helps increase their faith. Just after it, the moon, the night, and the morning are used as witnesses to the promise, and it has also been said that it is to be the greatest warning for mankind. What is this great secret that concerns 10:9? 109 Earths will fit inside the Sun. 695,500 multiplied by 2 equals 1,391,000, which is the equatorial diameter of the Sun. 6,378.14 multiplied by 2 equals 12,756.28 kilometers, which is the equatorial diameter of the Earth. Equatorial diameter of the Sun over equatorial diameter of the Earth, 1,391,000 over 12,756.28 equals 109.0443. When the Sun and the Earth are at the maximum distance to each other, 109 suns will fit between the Earth and the Sun. The maximum distance between the Earth and the Sun, 152.1 million kilometers. The diameter of the Sun, 1,391 million kilometers. When the Sun and the Earth are at the maximum distance to each other, 109 suns will fit between the Earth and the Sun. Our satellite, the Moon, also is pitched into the reflections of 109 between the Earth and the Sun. The Moon will regularly come near and recede away from the Earth. 109 moons can fit in between the Earth and the Moon. When we come to the middle point of these tidal movement cycles, it is possible to place 109 moons in between the Earth and the Moon. In the measurements, in which the Sun's deviating effect is not taken into account, the Moon will reach the 109th value when it is in the golden ratio point. If the Earth had rotated only once in a year around itself, each day it would only be able to rotate for 109 kilometers. 1 year is 365.25 days. If the world was only revolving around itself once in a year, then it would only rotate for 109 kilometers per day. What is the volume of the Earth's livable atmosphere? 109 times 10 to the power 10 kilometers. How many cubic kilometers is the Moon's volume? The magnificent harmony of the numbers and its reflections are not mandatory by the laws of physics. This is actually the result of a designer who takes a system that is magnificent from the point of view of engineering and also uses visual ratios and aesthetics in order to create an ability to give messages. In the solar system, no other planet or satellite has the harmonic proportionality that the Sun has. The Moon is 1/400th of the size of the Sun, and the ratio of Earth's distance to the Sun and the Earth's distance to the Moon is also 400 to 1. Even though there is a huge difference in distances and ratios, when you look up in the sky, both of them will appear to be of equal size. It won't be possible to see these great ratios and equalities in situations which have been caused by coincidences and randomness. Moon revolves around the Earth at 27.32 days, and the diameter of the Moon is 27.31% of the diameter of the Earth. In NASA's measurements, if we remember the acknowledgement that there could be small divergences, then it can be seen as a magnificent analogy on the order of 10,000 to 1. The Quran has given the name of our satellite, the Moon, to one surah, since it creates the fundamental building block of these magnificent ratios. The Moon, Surah Al-Qamar, has the sum of the mathematical value 109. The verse number is 55 and the order number is 54. These two verses describe the fact that in the Quran, both the Moon and the Sun actually overcome the rules of physics, and they are forced to enter a special situation that other planets don't have. The first of these verses: "It is He who made the sun to be a shining glory and the moon to be a light of beauty, and measured out stages for it, that ye might know the number of years and the count of time. No wise did Allah create this, but in truth and righteousness. Thus doth He explain His signs in detail for those who know." Surah 10, verse 6. "Verily, in the alternation of the night and the day, and in all that Allah hath created in the heavens and the earth, are signs for those who fear Him." In the verse it is stated clearly that the positions and the properties Sun and the Earth have been dictated by the Creator. The number of letters in the verse that describes this superior order is 109. In addition, the number of verses in this surah is 109. The 109th word is also in this verse, and the 109th word is ayatun, which means proof. The saying at the end of the verse that there are many proofs for a knowledgeable society is actually a message to modern humans who believe in mathematics and astronomy, and by showing the address of the verse, it is stated in this verse that knowledgeable people will understand the miraculous proofs. Niye tekrar? Hep tekrar onlar. Aynı şey söylüyor. Seest thou not that Allah merges night into day, and he merges day into night, that he has subjected the sun and the moon to his law, each running its course for a term appointed, and that Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. The Creator in this verse tells us that he has made the moon and the sun bow to him, unlike other celestial objects, and that he has placed them into sensitive orbits. The number of letters in the verse that describe this superior order is 109. The mathematical relationship of 109 and 19. When you do these calculations in the decimal system, and when you use the kilometer as a dimension, then these symmetric reflections are found. Creator knew that there would come a time where the holy message and the mysteries of the Quran would become known. We knew that the time would come for this species who had 10 digits in their hands, and who would use the decimal system, and who would reach knowledge of astronomy. Hence, that day is today. All the astronomical data have been taken from NASA. It is understood clearly that it is the sun with hellfire, where the unbelievers will be thrown in. In the verses and in hadiths, even though it's not clearly stated, it can be seen in a few moments that the torment that the sun will give to humanity will be the first part of the distress that will be caused in hell. According to scientific data, after an indeterminate period of time, the sun will expand violently like the other stars, and it will expand violently to the red giant phase, and then it will swallow Earth. Right after that, it will crumble and turn into a white dwarf. These extraordinary astronomical events, which are impossible to predict, have been expressed in verses and hadiths. When the sky is unveiled, when the blazing fire is kindled to fierce heat, at takwir, the folding up, verse 11-12. Nay, when the earth is pounded to powder, and thy Lord cometh, and his angels rank upon rank, and hell that day is brought face to face. Al-Fajr, verses 21-23. Without a doubt, hell is everyone's root. Al-Naba, verse 21. Not one of you but will pass over hell. This is with thy Lord, a decree which must be accomplished. Mary, verse 71. From the hadith book of Bayhaqi, the second hadith of Rasulullah is Ibn Masud radiallahu an states that when mankind is incarcerated, they will wait for 409 years with their eyes on the sky. No one will tell them a single word, while at this time sun will be upon them and it will be burning them. When your world is thrown with everyone into hell, it will evaporate and be destroyed like a water drop. 4. Again you soon shall know. 5. Nay, were you to know with certainty of mind, you would beware. 6. You shall certainly see hellfire. 7. Again, you shall see it with certainty of sight. In our day, using advanced equipment and technology, we have reached a state of knowledge on many things. Then it means that we must have also reached definite information on the pangs of hell and its starting point. The verse which tells us that we will see him for sure has a mathematical value of 102.7, and its numerical value is 109. 107 plus 2 is 109. There are 19 words from the beginning of the surah until this verse. Holy mysteries are continuing. At length, when they came to a valley of ants, one of the ants said, O ye ants, get into your habitations, lest Solomon and his hosts crush you underfoot without knowing it. Jeremy Thomas from the Oxford University proved that the ants received voice commands from the queen ant in order to do their work, and he was also able to record these sounds. When the queen's voice was heard, the worker ants were immediately waiting at attention with their antennas in the air, with their jaws open and in a completely immobile state for many hours. The one who gave the order was a female ant, or the queen ant. Moreover, in the world of ants, only the infertile female ants handle the defense or handle the task of searching for food outside. The males cannot do anything except mating, and then they will die immediately thereafter. Since male ants can also have wings, they can easily be confused with a queen. The miracle of the Quran is that it clearly states that ants communicate with each other by sound, and that this communication is only between females, and moreover that in the chain of command it also states that the females are on top of the chain. Also, it is noteworthy that when an army goes over them, the word broken is used instead of the word crushed. This is because ants' bodies resemble glass or crystal. They cannot be crushed, as they will either die by getting broken or they will be crippled. It was impossible to know or predict 1,400 years ago that ants were communicating audibly, and that only the female ant could give warnings and commands, as well as the fact that ants would have fragile bodies which can be broken but not crushed. House of the female spider. The fact that spider webs could only be woven by female spiders was discovered in 1984. As different from all other animals, the female spider will eat the male spider that comes to its nest for mating. Thus, the world's most fearsome nest is the nest of the female spider. This information, which was recently discovered by science, was actually given in the Quran 1,400 years ago, at a time when there were no microscopes. The parable of those who take protectors other than Allah is that of the female spider, who builds to itself a house. But truly, the flimsiest of houses is the female spider's house. If they but knew. Al-Ankabut, verse 41. female bee is among the flowers. And thy Lord taught the female bee to build its cells in hills, on trees, and in man's habitations. Then to eat all of the produce of the earth, and follow the ways of thy Lord made smooth. There issues from within their bodies a drink of varying colors, wherein in healing for men. Verily, in this is a sign for those who give thought. An-Nahl, verse 68, 69. The verbs in Arabic take a different attachment if a male is performing an action, and it'll take a completely different attachment for a female performing an action. Thus, it is very easy to understand from the verb that which gender is responsible for a particular action. The Quran tells us tasks such as building a nest, building a honeycomb, looking for flowers in the mountains, making honey have been given to the female bee. So then, what are the male bees doing? The only function of the male bees in the comb is to impregnate the queen bee. Their body structure doesn't allow them for doing any other function. Information concerning the lives and the gender of bees was under dark until recently. In fact, the common belief was that the worker bees, which collect the honey, were males. This information, given without a doubt or without any discrepancy, was a miracle of the Quran. That he did create in pairs, male and female, from a sperm drop when lodged in his place, An-Najm, verse 45-46. As it can be understood from the verses that a piece of the sperm is responsible for the formation of a human, and it is this piece which is instrumental in determining whether it becomes male or female. This shows that the sperm is the effective cause in determining the gender of the baby. Hence the Quran has removed this shame etched into history by explaining this scientific fact and by protecting women who have been accused and treated contemptuously throughout history for not giving birth to sons. There are many important epigrams in the Quran that talks about bees and ants as well as spiders. Here it is said that these animals are female. However, even with the technical capabilities that we have today, we have just recently learned about the gender of these animals. Hence, it is not possible for Prophet Muhammad, who is an illiterate person without the knowledge to read and write, to use these expressions concerning the gender of these animals. Thus, these expressions are clear and definite pieces of evidence of the fact that the Quran is the Word of God and that the Quran is a miracle itself. Symmetry miracle in the Quran. Instead of random shapes, the universe encompasses a symmetric design which has been etched into every living being's theme. There is a symmetry in circles, in rectangles, in all the planets, galaxies, in the structure of stars, in all leaves, in plant structures, in branching structures, in the faces and bodies of all humans and in animals, in all molecular structures, in snow crystals, etc. Symmetry is the analogous structures that are formed within a certain order, giving similar looks to each other. It is one of the important signs which show that it is not coincidence which causes every piece in the universe to be in motion, and that there is a magnificent order which creates the universe, and that nothing is shaped in a haphazard manner. It is very meaningful that the symmetry seen in the whole universe is also seen in the mathematical structure of the Quran, which is one of the most important works of the Creator. And enough are we to take account. Al-Anbiya, verse 47. Allah has revealed the most beautiful message in the form of a book consistent with itself, yet repeating. Az-Zumar, Verse 23. The wisdom of the expressions in the verses which talk about doubles, twins, and repeating statements have always been a matter of curiosity. The research completed has shown that in our day, the verses and the order numbers of the surahs or chapters have shown us an extraordinary symmetry. Every surah in the Quran has different values. For example, the surah of Al-Fatiha has order number 1 and it has 7 verses. What we are trying to express here is that the surah of Al-Fatiha is in the odd times odd portion. The surah of Al-Araf, number of verses 206, even number, order number 7, odd number. In this case, the surah of Al-Araf would be in the odd times even portion in our chart. Hence, in our chart, we are able to show all the possibilities when we group them to 4 parts with odd, odd, even, even, odd, even, even, odd. In the group of surahs with odd order number and odd verse numbers, the group of chapters with even order numbers and then odd numbers of verses will give a symmetric look with 27 surahs. There are 30 chapters or surahs with an even order number and even number of verses. In a similar manner, there are again 30 chapters that have an odd order number and even number of verses. From this point of view, the chapters will have a symmetric look with 27 number of chapters with the same order number and verse numbers. The chapters with the verse numbers being greater than order numbers will have a symmetric look when they are grouped to odd and even. This rule is perfectly followed by a group of chapters with a number of verses that are less than their order numbers. The Surah of Al-Fatiha is in the first order and it has 7 verses. The total sum of its mathematical value is 1 plus 7, which is 8. The number of chapters in the Quran with an even mathematical value sum is 6,236. Equivalent surahs from 1 to 114 have their order number sums and their mathematical value sums seen in the odd number chapters. These two groups have the value of 6,555. The chances of these two possibilities occurring are 1 in 100 million. But this symmetry in the Quran, along with its mathematical design, is not limited to only this. There are hundreds of more instances that hide a sophisticated symmetrical that the human mind cannot comprehend. We again see a symmetry when we order the longest 57 chapters along with the remaining 57 as odd or even. There are many types of symmetric designs in the Quran. Some of them, according to their subject names, are prime numbers, numbers divisible by 3 but not divisible by 2, sum of prime factorials, perfect numbers, rich numbers, limited numbers, and many more. If you want to look over all these explanations, proofs and figures related to the topic, then please read the book Kur'an-ı Kerim, Symmetric Kitap, written by Associate Professor Dr. Halis Aydemir and published by Gizemler Publishing House. When we think about the order numbers and the verse numbers together, there will be 2 numerical sequences with 114 numbers each. Hence, the Quran is founded upon this numerical structure. Does this structure, which we are talking about, have a disordered makeup, or is it a structured system? It is possible to research the fact that it is in fact a structured system. This is because the qualities of the numbers and their types are described in the science of mathematics. For example, the first thing that comes into mind is grouping the numbers as odd or even, or grouping them as prime numbers and compounded numbers. When we look at these numbers in the Quran, we will see a structure that will dazzle the minds. This structure shows itself in a double symmetrical sequence. This structure can also be seen in odd and even numbers, in scarce numbers, in rich and perfect numbers, along with similar headings. This situation is not only something that we can see, but it is also a clear and net result that others can also test and see. For a mathematician to think that this structure is made randomly would be an exercise in futility. It is a scientific necessity to accept the fact that there is an ordering hand. Is this the hand of humanity, or is it a divine hand? Those who think that this is the hand of man should get help from computers in our day, where mathematics is so advanced, and they should try to create alternative numerical sequences which will give similar symmetric results. Otherwise, their objections will not have any validity from the scientific point of view. Moreover, many of these criteria are mathematical definitions which have been recently shaped in the modern era. It is also useful to add this as well. The Quran itself also gives the information away in a manner that is not very hidden, that it has a magnificent structure. It is God, Allah, who has created the best of words and brought it down as dual symmetric book.